Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's go to the mailbag here. It says, "Dear Perch, I know in the past you've commented that piracy is not an effective or good method for growing comics. I disagree. A lot of people who pirate comics wind up buying them. In a world where comics are in a world, I feel like more people are saying it that way. In a world where yeah, okay. In a world where comics are more expensive than ever and in fewer places than ever, beggars can't be choosers. We need to be able to get comics to customers in order for them to decide to buy them. What other method of marketing it, what other method of marketing is there with comics if not piracy?" I'm sure you disagree, and I'm also certain that you're biased because of being a retailer and having friends in the comic industry. But really, what is the alternative? The person has put 4 question marks here to really emphasize the question. What is the alternative, Morty? What's the alternative, Morty? Anyway, sorry. What's the alternative? I don't know why I'm doing that accent either. Um, Curious to hear your thoughts. Curious. I'm curious. Look, so this is my perspective, and believe it or not, I'm not biased for being a retailer. I mean, in many cases, several of my friends who are retailers and people who are in this business feel I'm a trader because I'm constantly talking about getting comics into Walmart or, figuring out a digital strategy or getting comics into other places, which a lot of retailers view as, frankly, more dangerous and more harming than piracy, which just shows that they're idiots. But um, I think comics needs exposure. So don't get me wrong, comics absolutely needs exposure. The problem is this, and I'm gonna do this video without judgment. If you pirate comics, if you're downloading from I'm just gonna say it, like Read Free Comics Online, or what's the other getcomics.info. That's another site people point me to a lot that has like all the comics. You can kind of just grab them as you go. Birch hates the comics industry. He's listing pirate sites. Yeah, so does Google. So yeah, I'm just saving you some time. But anyway, if you're using those sites, um, the challenge is the audience that's going there and downloading the comics, even though they say all the time, "No, no, I just try it first and then I go to the store and buy it." I don't believe you. X for doubt. I don't believe you. I think 1 out of 100 people do that. But I just don't believe you're reading these comics. And I think that's true for a couple reasons. I think number one, when you're reading it for free on a pirate site, I actually completely and utterly believe that the comic business, the way comics are priced, $4.99, everything else, it's more egregious to when CDs were priced at $15 for an album, and then people started using Napster to download stuff, and basically it screwed up the music industry and changed the business model forever. A lot of people said at that time that $15 per album was expensive and painful, but I would argue that comic books are far worse in terms of pricing. And again, I'm a retailer. I have every reason to disagree with myself, but I think it's more egregious. I mean, put it this way: you can buy 3 comic books, and spend more money than a CD did in the mid '90s, and I have a fraction of the entertainment. I mean, I still like I'm driving home and I'm not talking to all of you folks, and I'm putting on Appetite for Destruction, and I think I've listened to Paradise City 1,000 times in my lifetime, easily 1,000 times, and I've only been suckered like 3 times into buying Guns N' Roses material. I bought Appetite, and then I bought like the greatest hits, and then I bought like some kind of special edition remaster. And it's like, oh, this is the same shit. Anyway, but even fully loaded with $45, let's say, going into Guns N' Roses, I feel like I've got my money's worth on that one song alone. With comic books, 3 comics costing the price of an album, it's expensive. I mean, you're high if you don't think so. It just is. And so you got to figure out a way around that. So I mean, the problem is when people were downloading music a lot of people are doing that because the price point was just too high. But when they were provided another option, whether it's something on Apple Music or Amazon Prime or whatever, you have these other options to get the music. And people are like, yeah, okay, $10 a month, all you can eat. Sure, I'll pay that. And they happily accepted it by and large. There is a lot less music piracy than there used to be because you can get it from a bunch of different sources. It's convenient. It's actually more, it's more inconvenient to download and pirate music than it is to just, find it in one of the 800 sources where you can get it in a kind of an a la carte fashion. With comics, that isn't the case. You don't have an Apple Music. You don't have an Apple Comics. You don't have anything like that. And, and frankly, you could drive to a comic store. I talked to Mark Miller and, he's like, I've got like 3 comic stores within a walking distance. I mean, man, good for you. You're no offense to Mark, but I very few people have that. Very few people have that ability. For a lot of people, driving to a comic shop is a pain in the ass. I live in the DFW area, which is just overblown and shit. And I can't get to a comic store. I mean, if I get in my car and drive, I can get to a comic shop in 20 minutes. That's the closest it gets. And I have to like endure a Mad Max like road situation in order to get there because the people here drive like absolute shit. So anyway, I'm just saying it's not that easy. So comics, it is easier to pirate. It's just easier. You can go on, I mean, hell, a lot of these sites have already formatted themselves for tablets and everything. You can go right there and it's the easiest thing in the world. And because of that, the convenience factor, it's just simple. If you read a comic you really love on a pirate site, going to buy it is somewhat of a pain in the ass. Your best hope is that the comic you like got wrapped up into some kind of trade paperback. You can knock on over to Amazon, order it, and if you happen to live in a good area, you could have it in 2 days. That's like the best option for you. Which is not great. It's not equivalent to music. So I don't believe it's happening. I just don't. And there's the pricing and the business and the all the numbers and everything else indicate that the people who are pirating comics are not showing up a week later in the comic shop and buying what they pirate. The numbers do not reflect that. So I think a lot of people are pirating and by and large rarely buy comics. And so I don't think it's helpful from that perspective. Is it free marketing? I guess. But I'm going to throw this out there too. And this is really going to piss some of you off who are pirating and just good comic people, but it's really going to irritate you. The majority of people, I wager, who are pirating comics are dickheads who do not respect comics at all. And what I mean by that is if you go on Twitter and you look at like the X fandom, or you look at some of the people there who are, loudly talking about how all the X-Men are gay, and they always have been since the origin of the X-Men. And it's that's the thing that they love most is a Hellfire Gala and all that other shit. That's your pirate. Those are the people pirating. It's that audience. That's the group. There's another group there who is hates comics and really just wants to make fun of them, and that's the group that's pirating. And in my opinion, the people who are doing the most pirating and then blabbing about it on social media, ergo the marketing you think you're getting, are people who are not helpful on either side. There are people who either fucking hate comics that are just looking for things to clown on, or there are people who are intentionally just looking for the weirdest shit possible in order to get attention for themselves. The person who goes on Twitter or Blue Sky and goes, it'd be really cool if all the X-Men were just in an orgy all the time. Why isn't there a monthly Hellfire Gala comic? That isn't me making shit up. There's people, like, go search it. There are people who actively are pushing for a monthly Hellfire Gala comic who thinks the absolute best thing to happen to the X-Men would be if it was 1 year-long Met Gala every single issue. All they want is like a comic about fashion, and then they're shipping, Maru and a transgender slug. I mean, that's and yes, I said slug correctly. I didn't mean maggot. I meant that fat ass from the Incredible Hulk series that Peter David wrote once upon a time. I'm talking about that slug. Anyway, those people are not buying comics. They didn't before and they're not after. These are at best tourists. These are people who are trying to do the absolute worst takes possible in order to get attention for themselves. That's who that is. And that attention cuts both ways. So I think the idea that comics are being pirated and as a result you're getting great marketing and you're ultimately getting people into the shops, I'm sorry, I don't think so. Does that mean that everyone who pirates comics are a bad, awful, evil person? No, of course not. And I'm sure some of you, and I will hear from all of you in the comments in this video, some of you absolutely love comics and you just pirate because it's convenient on a Wednesday because you're working the night shift and 3 other jobs and you're running a charity for sick, cancerous cats. And the second you can get to that comic shop on your spare time off on Saturday, you're buying all those comics and more, and you're giving your retailer a big tip. Yeah, I'm sure you're out there, but the majority of people pirating are not purchasing comics, and they have the worst takes, the absolute worst takes. I have a new hobby. I've got a couple of friends who we share like the worst possible comic takes on social media. We'll send a link out. My favorite was one from Reddit, which is always a source of complete and absolute garbage, but from Reddit. And the take was, what if Marvel made a Daredevil comic, except he was overweight, gay, and not blind, and he didn't really like fighting villains. Instead, he used Uber Eats too much, and that's the joke. That was the guy's pitch for Daredevil. I used to do a bit, and one of these days we'll do it again. Sasha, hey Sasha, if you're still out there and listening to every video, I know you do. I'm kidding. I know you do not. But if Sasha's listening to this, Sasha wants to do a bad comic pitches with Joe and I, the 3 of us. I still think that would be fucking hilarious. But we got to do that sometime. Come on, Sasha. Come on, Joe. Let's do it. But that is the worst pitch, like the fucking worst pitch. Like no matter how drunk or angry I am, I would never come up with a pitch that terrible. But that's what's going on. In this pitch, at the bottom, they put a link to the readfreecomicsonline.org or whatever it is for Daredevil. And to kind of and it's like, yeah, this is the kind of individual that pirates comics. I know they're not all that way. I am sure some of you just can't make it to the comic shop this week, but you really want to read that cliffhanger, so you read it online. Cool. I also understand the publishers have absolute dog shit digital platforms, and I get why. I mean, frankly, I think there are people out there who would pay the comic pirate sites more money just to not have to deal with Marvel and DC's, digital bullshittery. But let's just be honest. I think the vast majority of that audience, the vast majority of people who are pirating, are not. These people aren't buying comics in the first place. So, what is it worth? But anyway, it all speaks to there needs to be a digital strategy. There needs to be a better way to market comics. There just has to be. And the longer there isn't, the more, we're with this. So anyway, fat, non-blind Daredevil who doesn't fight crime but orders Uber Eats. That's the comic of 2025. Thanks for listening.